come on. Today we're talking true crime in the insect kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you about robber bees. I guess I'm a little big for my bee costume. But anyway, these are some cold hard criminals, ladies and gentlemen. But if you don't take my word for it, and truthfully I'd understand why, here's a USU scientist telling you they're criminals.
I think, crimes are from the plant perspective.
Okay, Robert. I tell you what, I'll show you what a robber bee does, and you can decide. But I'm going to explain it to you through the medium of theater. But specifically, puppet theater. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the star of our show. And this is its poor, poor victims. Hi, everybody. I'm Mr. Buzzworth. I'm a bumblebee, but I have a problem. I'm just too darn big for these flowers sometimes, and other times my tongue is too short. Oh, I have an idea. What if I just go down to the flowers? That works. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Isn't he just a bit of a criminal for doing that? I think so. But for USU researchers, they're not really just interested in him. Instead, they're interested in how and why other pollinators start to show up and use the hole that he cut open.
So other species will eventually learn that these are here, find these holes, and take advantage of them themselves. They're no longer entering these flowers through the front there to access nectar. Instead, they'll come through the side and steal nectar and act as secondary robbers. So we're trying to get a handle of those impacts for the plant, but mainly, how do these secondary robbers identify these holes? What are some of the cues that are associated, with their location, their availability, with a particular attention to odor?
Yeah, these are the guys we tested for secondary robbing.
If you're curious, that bee is called Bulbus occidentalis. But for people like me that, don't speak Latin, that's the Western bumble. And this is Valerie, Robert's PhD student who spent this summer in Colorado at the Rocky Mountain Biological Research Laboratory studying secondary robbing.
We wanted to look at the microbiome differences between pollinated flowers and robbed flowers, looking at effects of microbes on the scent of nectar. Part of the reason why we're looking at this is because we see a lot of this one yeast species in the flowers. It's called Mechnicovia ricofii. It's relatively closely related to our bread, beer, wine yeast.
Here's why that's important. When a bee flies to and enters into a flower, it brings this yeast with it. But when it leaves, that yeast sticks around. And it then mixes with the nectar and starts to ferment and creates booze, alcohol. And it turns out that, bees like a little bit of booze. Cheers to that.
There's been multiple studies over the last 30 years or so showing that honeybees prefer alcoholic nectar.
But what Valerie found through her work in the lab, as well as in the field, is that bees might be alcoholics.
The secondary robbers were able to locate the nectar on those flowers more quickly if they had yeast. And what we posited is that the scent of the yeast is acting as a cue for the bee visiting the flowers.
So essentially, these bees smell that alcohol, or at least the scent from the yeast. Either way, the smells guide them towards those flowers. There's a problem though.
All right, buddy, you better go.
The bees just might not be able to get home again after they visit.
There's a lot of evidence showing that if bees consume too much alcohol, they have a hard time flying home.
Don't worry, boys, I got that scumbag.
And, they probably shouldn't. But collectively, this work is important because it helps us get a better understanding of the relationships between flowers and bees and their environment.
And I think if we really want to get a handle on, botanical conservation or how do we conserve pollinators and their health, we need to consider this microbial dimension as well.